There's a moment in every child's life when they learn what love is supposed to feel like. For some, it's the warmth of a hug after a fall, the steady hand that guides them through fear, or the quiet reassurance of someone who never leaves. But for others, those raised without parents, those left to navigate the world with only silence and absence, as their teacher's love becomes something else entirely. It becomes confusing, unpredictable, sometimes even dangerous, because when you grow up in neglect, you don't just miss out on affection, you learn to mistake harm for connection, hunger for care, and chaos for comfort. Neglect doesn't always announce itself with bruises or broken bones. Sometimes it lives in the spaces between words, in the emptiness of a room where no one checks if you're okay, in the meals you make yourself because no one else remembers to feed you. You don't realize it at first that what you're experiencing isn't normal. All you know is that your stomach growls more than it should, that your clothes are too small and rarely clean, that your questions go unanswered and your fears unsoothed. And slowly, quietly, you begin to believe that being unseen is simply what you deserve. That love, whatever it is, must be something meant for other people. You learn early how to survive on your own, how to tie your shoes without help, how to find food when the cabinets are bare, how to pretend everything is fine even when it's not. You become good at reading people not because you want to, but because you have to. You need to know who might hurt you, who might leave, who might forget you exist. You develop instincts no child should ever need, and they serve you well for a while, but they also shape the way you see the world, the way you expect people to behave, the way you protect yourself from disappointment before it can reach you. And then there's love, the idea of it, the longing for it, the confusion around it. When you've grown up without real affection, without consistent touch or tenderness, you start to confuse attention with love. Even if that attention is sharp, unpredictable, sometimes cruel, at least it means you're seen. At least someone notices you. So you cling to people who shouldn't be clung to. Stay in relationships that don't feel safe, ignore red flags, because they look too much like the only kind of connection you've ever known. You think maybe this is just how love works, that it hurts sometimes, that it requires sacrifice, that it asks you to shrink so someone else can take up space. But deep down, something in you knows better. There's a part of you, the smallest, most fragile part, that remembers what it felt like to watch other kids get hugged by their parents, to hear someone call another child sweetheart or baby, to see a mother chase after her toddler with laughter instead of frustration. That part of you aches, not just for what was lost, but for what you were never given a chance to understand. Love, in its truest form, feels like a foreign language. You recognize the words, but you don't know how to speak them fluently. You try, but you stumble, often hurting yourself and others in the process. As you grow older, you start to notice patterns. You give too much too quickly, hoping someone will finally fill the space that's been empty for so long, where you hold back entirely, afraid that letting someone in will only lead to more loss. Either way, you end up alone, not always physically, but emotionally. And you wonder if this is just how it's going to be forever, if you're doomed to repeat the cycle of abandonment, either by chasing people away or by pushing them out before they can leave on their own. The truth is, you weren't taught how to receive love. No one showed you how to let someone care for you without feeling like you had to earn it. No one whispered that you were worthy just as you were, that your presence alone was enough to deserve kindness. So you learned to perform, to smile when you were hurting, to laugh when you wanted to cry, to act like everything was fine even when you were falling apart inside. And now, as an adult, you struggle to unlearn all of that, to stop performing, to stop pretending, to stop believing that love is something you have to fight for instead of something that should feel natural. Healing begins when you start asking questions. Why do I expect people to leave me? Why do I push away the ones who stay? Why do I confuse pain with affection? Why do I apologize for taking up space? These aren't easy questions to answer, and they won't unravel overnight. But each time you ask them, you chip away at the foundation that neglect built beneath your feet. You begin to see that the way you love and the way you expect to be loved isn't just about your choices. It's about the blueprint you were handed as a child, the one that told you love was conditional, inconsistent, or simply unavailable. And yet, despite everything, you still want to believe in love. You still want to trust, to connect, to belong. That desire doesn't come from nowhere, it comes from the deepest parts of you. The parts that refused to die even when everything around you felt dead. It comes from the resilience that carried you through years of silence and solitude, from the strength that made you keep going even when no one else seemed to care. That part of you is still alive, still waiting for the right kind of love, the kind that sees you clearly, holds you gently, and stays without conditions. But healing also means learning to love yourself first. It means recognizing that you are not defined by what was taken from you, that your worth is not tied to someone else's ability to show up for you. It means giving yourself permission to rest, to heal, to set boundaries, to walk away from things that hurt. It means understanding that love doesn't have to be painful to be real, that safety is not weakness, and that vulnerability is not a flaw. This journey is not linear. There will be days when you feel like you're making progress, and days when it feels like you're slipping backward. That's okay. Growth is messy, and healing is hard work. But every step you take, every boundary you set, every wound you name, every moment you choose yourself over old patterns is proof that you are stronger than the neglect that shaped you. So if you're watching this and recognizing pieces of yourself in these words, know that you are not alone. Know that your experience matters, that your story deserves to be heard, that your heart is still capable of love even if it has to. Relearn what that looks like. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not damaged goods. You are human, beautifully and painfully human, and you are allowed to heal. Because the truth is, childhood neglect may have warped your sense of love, but it does not have to define it forever. You can rewrite the narrative. You can build new foundations. You can learn to love in ways that feel safe, honest, and whole. And even if it takes time, even if it takes effort, even if it takes everything you have, you are worth it. Every single step of the way.